Hello everyone and welcome to Procurement in the Park. I'm Christian Schuh and today I'm talking to you from Perth, the capital of Western Australia and the epicenter of the country's mining industry. I'm here on the first leg of my latest book tour to promote Profit from the Source, which I wrote with colleagues from Boston Consulting Group and which is published by Harvard Business Review Press. It is a great opportunity to see for myself Australia's extraordinary and ongoing transformation. As the geopolitical tectonic plates shift again with the rise of China, the phenomenal breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, and the green energy revolution for tackling climate change, Australia is poised to become a new global superpower. And when I say superpower, I want to emphasize the word power, because the spark for Australia's rise is the race for new sources of energy to power the future. Australia is highly rich in natural resources. It is the biggest producer of bauxite, which is needed to make aluminum, iron ore, and lithium. The second biggest producer of gold and lead. The third biggest producer of black coal, cobalt, and zinc. And the fourth biggest producer of rare earths. I'm not making a new point here. After all, the first Australian gold rush took place back in 1851. And it is nearly 60 years ago since Donald Horne, an Australian writer and journalist, famously dubbed his homeland the Lucky Country, not least because of its vast reserves of gold and other raw materials. But what is new is the unprecedented demand for Australia's natural resources. Indeed, there are concerns that demand is outstripping supply. There are three main drivers of the surge in demand. One is the increasing demand for semiconductors, which are present in every electronic device from smartphones and computers to cars, fridges, and washing machines. Australia has an abundance of the constituent materials in semiconductors. A second driver is the green energy revolution. Countries and companies are having to cut their dependence on fossil fuels as the world transitions to net zero carbon emissions in a bid to limit the negative consequences of climate change. Again, many of Australia's metals and minerals are crucial for the manufacture of batteries, wind turbines, solar panels, and other green or clean energy technologies. A third driver is the decision by US and European companies to diversify away from China, which for the past 30 years has been the world's manufacturing hub for digital technology and the leader in the green energy revolution with a market-leading position in the manufacture of batteries and electric vehicles. This diversification has been accelerated by the actions of Joe Biden's US government. For a start, it has imposed a ban on the export of some vital technologies to China. Also, its Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, which passed into law last year, hands out generous subsidies to companies engaged in green energy generation that do not have any affiliation with China. Initially focused on US companies, the IRA may be extended to Australian companies since Australia is a free trade partner. This would allow the US to benefit from the majority of the natural resources coming from Australia. Also, it would be a poke in the eye of China. Right now, China is the biggest consumer of Australia's natural resources, but the Australian government seems to favor such a reorientation. As The Economist recently noted, Australia is looking to break China's monopoly on crucial metals. As part of its effort, it is investing $500 million Australian dollars in a critical mineral strategy. So what does all of this mean for CPOs? How should they respond to what's happening in Australia? In my view, if they are in any way reliant on the metals and minerals for which Australia is recognized as one of the world's biggest suppliers, they need a dedicated, bespoke, Australia-focused plan of action. This should have at least 3 elements. First, they should consider creating a team of go-to procurement experts who know everything there is to know about Australia. This should be modeled on those directly responsible individuals that I write about in Profit from the Source. At Apple, for example, they have experts in a variety of categories, such as aluminum. These DRIs were critical in the development of one of Apple's greater, if understated, innovations, the unibody chassis for its notebook computers. In the same way, companies need Australia-focused experts who should be tasked with immersing themselves in the granular details, engaging in collaborative debate with their colleagues and peers in other functions and with suppliers, and scanning the media for new information. Second, companies should get to know and build a direct relationship with all the key participants in the supply chain, not just their immediate or Tier 1 suppliers, but also their Tier 2, Tier 3 and Tier 4 suppliers. In the middle of the global pandemic, many major companies struggled to secure the supply of critical parts and components, notably semiconductors. One of the reasons why they struggled was that they did not have direct relationships with their suppliers. In the future, they should learn from that bad experience and make sure that they know the suppliers of metals and minerals in Australia. Third, companies should anticipate the future by monitoring the performance of so-called junior miners, those small pioneer companies that are exploring Australia for deposits of critical metals and minerals. According to the International Energy Agency, the world will need 35 million tons of green metals every year to sustain a carbon-neutral environment. This will require the discovery of vast new deposits and the opening of hundreds of new mines. CPO should ensure that their companies are not at the back of the queue when these junior miners strike gold, literally and metaphorically. Where I'm standing today is 11,600 miles away from New York and 8,800 miles away from Brussels. In other words, it is miles away from the traditional centers of enterprise. But very soon, it will be at the very center of an increasingly greener world. So if Australia wasn't on your radar before, it needs to be now. Thank you for watching. I'm Christian Schuh, and this is Procurement in the Park.